Right. We've been watching a clip, so to speak, of a form of coalition by international activists from across the world, obviously, who are working to curb the menace that plastic waste, brings to the planet. And, to take this conversation further, we bring in, joining us in the studio, the Executive Director, Sustainable Research and Action for Environmental Development, Leslie Adogame. Thank you for joining us. Also joining via Zoom, this time from Benin City in Edo State, is the Project Officer, Waste Management Environmental Rights Action, Friends of the Earth Nigeria, Ifechi Enyinaya. It's good to have you join us on the program this morning. So welcome to you both. Let's begin in the studio. Dr. Leslie, talk to us about this coalition. Of course, Nigeria, as we were mentioning earlier, has an unenviable status, so to speak, of waste generation. But now that you've escalated the problem now on an international scale, talk to us about that. Let's start off before we now bring it all home.
Okay, thank you so much. The coalition is a global alliance for incinerators alternatives. In other words, we focus on an aspect of waste management referred to as zero waste. Zero waste is basically a concept, a very latent concept for efficient waste management. And Gaia, as it is called, we are spread all over the world. We advocate for sustainable waste management. We in Nigeria are working under the zero waste concept under the Gaia Africa framework. Back home here in Nigeria, we have a very strong coalition of NGOs. We call it Gaia Nigeria NGOs, where we try as much as possible to propagate the concept of zero waste. We're setting out guidelines that municipal governments can follow because the campaign has been so much about recycling. We cannot basically recycle our waste. Recycle our way out of, a lot of this waste. So the best approach is a zero waste approach. And what we are trying to propagate is to say zero waste initiative talks much more about the best and the most efficient way of waste management. What do we mean? A human being must continue to produce waste as long as you are alive. And the best, most sustainable waste management is talking about what we call green consumerism, what we call changing in production lifestyles. We just can't continue to produce things when we do not have the means to manage them. So you need to, first of all, redesign. That's what's the first hierarchy on zero waste. Today we talk, from your analysis, you talked about plastics as the highest volume of waste stream in Nigeria. We must have to begin to redesign right from the basis, plastic materials that the environment carrying capacity can hold. Today, the environment carrying capacity is overstretched. So we cannot continue to produce this kind of plastic that are non-biodegradable. They must have to be plastics. If we must use plastics that are biodegradable, if it's possible. Then when you move from redesigning right from the scratch, you can now move to issues like how do you reduce waste at source? How do you reuse waste? Until we imbibe all the, in fact, even though we keep on propagating recycling is right at the bottom of the pyramid of waste management. And that's why we find today we have accumulation of waste everywhere. Why? Because we are looking at recycling as the best approach. No, recycling is right at the bottom.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have to start from redesigning of waste, reducing waste at source, that's waste segregation in our homes, and reusing waste. those are the concepts of zero waste we're trying to
Interesting.
propagate.
Yeah, let me quickly bring in